I found my fiancée's secret social media account. Mark and Elena were the it couple. After 3 years of dating, Mark had finally proposed on a cliffside in Amalfi. Their life was a series of synchronized calendars, shared brunches, and quiet evenings. Elena was a high-level marketing executive, organized, composed, and seemingly an open book. The crack in the porcelain appeared on a Tuesday night. Elena was in the shower, and her laptop, usually password protected, sat open on the bed. A notification chimed. It wasn't a work email. It was a DM from an account called @Lilith_unbound. The message read, "The deposit hit. When is the next live stream? They're asking for the special wardrobe." Mark's heart hammered. He knew Elena's handles. She used her real name for LinkedIn and a private Instagram for friends. This was different. He searched the handle on his own phone. The profile was locked, but the bio sent a chill down his spine. A life unscripted. Real desires, no filters. Catch me when the sun goes down. It had 450,000 followers. He spent the next 48 hours becoming a digital detective. He realized Elena wasn't just working late at the office. She had rented a small studio apartment across town under her maiden name. Using a VPN and a burner account, Mark finally gained access to the hidden world of @Lilith_unbound. The content wasn't just photos. It was a meticulously crafted persona. As Lilitha, Elena was a chaotic, thrill-seeking adventurer who documented a life Mark didn't recognize. She posted videos of herself at underground clubs, high-stakes poker games, and even skydiving trips she claimed were business conferences. But the deeper layer was darker. She ran a confession series where she spoke to her audience about her boring, stifling life with a man she called the Anchor. "He's a good man," she told her 400K followers in a video recorded just last week, while wearing her engagement ring on a necklace. "But he's a cage. He loves a version of me that doesn't exist. Lilitha is who I am. Elena is the mask I wear to keep the peace." Mark felt like he was mourning a woman who was still sitting across from him at breakfast. He didn't explode immediately. He watched her. He watched her sip her coffee and talk about boring spreadsheets, while he knew she had spent the previous night winning $5,000 at an illegal basement casino. The breaking point came when he saw a post scheduled for their wedding date. "The ultimate performance begins. Till death do us part. Or until I get bored." He didn't wait for the wedding. He invited her to the secret studio she thought he didn't know about. When she arrived, she found Mark sitting in her streaming chair, the ring on the desk. The confrontation wasn't loud. It was cold. Elena didn't cry. Instead, her face shifted. The Elena mask dropped, and Lilitha took over. "I didn't do this to hurt you," she said, her voice devoid of its usual softness. "I did this to survive. You wanted a wife. They wanted a legend. I gave you both what you wanted." Mark realized then that you can live with someone for years and never truly meet them. He walked out, leaving the ring and his keys behind. 2 months later, Mark saw one last update from @Lilith_unbound. It was a photo of her at the airport, a one-way ticket to Berlin in hand. The caption read, "The anchor has been cut. Finally at sea." Mark deleted the app. He realized that some secrets aren't meant to be found, because once you see the truth, you can never go back to the lie. Why this story resonates. The betrayal of identity. It's not just about cheating. It's about the fact that the person he loved was a fictional character. The digital age. It explores how easy it is to maintain a massive secret life in the palm of your hand. Psychological depth. It challenges the reader to wonder, how well do we really know the people we sleep next to? Mark didn't confront her immediately. He became a ghost in his own home. He began tracking her work expenses. He noticed that every Thursday, Elena claimed she had a late-night strategy meeting. He checked their shared bank account. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Then he realized she wasn't using their money. She was using the money. He followed her one Thursday evening. Instead of heading to the glass-walled corporate towers of downtown, she drove to the old textile district, a place of converted lofts and dimly lit alleys. He watched from a distance as she entered a brick building. using a keycard she kept hidden in a false compartment of her makeup bag. 2 days later, while Elena was at a yoga retreat, which Mark now knew was a high-profile influencer meetup in Vegas, he hired a locksmith. He told the man he had lost his keys to his art studio. When the door swung open, Mark's breath caught. The apartment was a neon-soaked dreamscape. One wall was covered in high-end soundproofing foam. Another was a gallery of wigs, leather jackets, and extravagant costumes that Elena would never wear at home. There were 3 professional-grade cameras on tripods and a ring light that looked like a halo for a digital goddess.
On the desk lay a journal. He opened it. October 14th, Mark asked about kids today. I almost laughed. How can I tell him that I feel more alive talking to 400,000 strangers than I do sitting at dinner with him? He wants a mother for his children. I want to be the fire that burns the forest down. Mark sat in the dark of that studio for hours. He realized that Elena wasn't just cheating with another person. She was cheating with an entirely different version of herself. He found a hidden folder on her desktop labeled The Exit Plan. It contained bank statements from a Cayman Islands account. She had been funneling her Lilith earnings, nearly $1.2 million, into an account Mark couldn't touch. She wasn't planning a wedding. She was planning a disappearance. The wedding was just a content opportunity for her. She had already contacted a videographer to leak the wedding footage to her fans for a premium subscription price. Mark was a software engineer by trade. He didn't want revenge in the form of a shouting match. He wanted her to feel the weight of her own deception. He spent the weekend writing a script. He didn't delete her account. He didn't change her password. Instead, he set a scheduled broadcast. On the night of their engagement party, with both their families gathered at a high-end restaurant, Mark stood up to give a toast. I wanted to show you all a video of our journey together, Mark said, his voice steady. He didn't play the slideshow of their vacations. He tapped a button on his phone. Every guest's phone chimed, simultaneously with a notification from A Lilith Unbound. The screen on the restaurant wall flickered to life. It wasn't Elena. It was a pre-recorded loop of her confessions, where she mocked the boring life she lived with them. The room went deathly silent. Elena's mother dropped her wine glass. Elena herself turned a shade of white Mark had never seen. You wanted an audience, Elena, Mark whispered, leaning in close so only she could hear. I just gave you the only one that actually matters. He didn't wait for her response. He walked out of the restaurant, through the valet, and into the night. He had already cleared his belongings from their shared apartment and moved them into a storage unit she didn't know about. The twist ending. 6 months later, Mark received a postcard from Thailand. There was no return address. On the back, it simply said,
You did me a favor, Mark. You broke the mask for me. Now I don't have to pretend at all. Thanks for the final 100K followers your stunt brought in. Check your bank account. I left you your half. He checked. There was exactly $600,000 in his account. He was free. But he realized he would never be able to trust a perfect person ever again. For a year, Mark lived in a world of silence. He moved to a different city, changed his number, and stayed off social media entirely. But you can't truly escape a woman who is famous on the internet. He would see her face on digital billboards in Tokyo during business trips. He would hear her voice in viral clips playing on strangers' phones in coffee shops. She wasn't just Elena or Lily there anymore. She had become a global brand. She was the woman who escaped the mundane. And she had built an empire on the story of how she left her boring fiancé. At the altar, Mark realized he hadn't just lost a fiancé. He had been turned into a villain in a story told to millions. Mark was sitting at a small outdoor cafe in Lisbon, thinking he was finally anonymous. He was reading a book when a shadow fell over his table. You always did like the quiet spots, Mark. He looked up. It was her. But she didn't look like the Elena he loved. Nor did she look like the neon-clad Lilitha. She looked tired. She was wearing an oversized linen shirt, no makeup, and her hair was pulled back in a messy knot. Can I sit? She asked. Mark didn't say anything. He simply gestured to the chair. I saw your Season 2 launch, Mark said coldly, referring to her new documentary series. Congratulations on the Emmy nomination for destroying our lives. Elena flinched. It's not what you think. The money is great. Mark, the freedom is intoxicating. But Do you know what it's like to have a million people love you when you haven't had a real conversation with a human being in 12 months? You had a human being, Mark reminded her. You had a life. You had a family. I had a cage, she snapped, her eyes flashing with the old Lily the Fire. But now, I'm realized that I just traded a small cage for a much larger, golden one. Every time I post, I have to be her. I have to be the girl who doesn't care. I have to be the girl who is unbound. If I show a single moment of regret, the brand dies. The sponsors leave. Elena reached into her bag and pulled out a thick envelope. She pushed it across the table. What's this? More hush money. Mark asked. It's the deed to the house in Vermont, she said. The one we used to talk about. The one with the garden and the library. I bought it. It's in your name. Mark looked at the envelope but didn't touch it. Why? Because, she whispered, her voice cracking for the first time in years. As long as you're there, living the life we talked about, then that version of me still exists somewhere. If you're there, then Elena isn't dead. She's just waiting. Mark stood up. He didn't take the envelope. Elena is dead, he said firmly. You killed her the night you opened that secret account. And Lily she's just a ghost I see on my phone screen. I don't want your house, and I don't want your guilt. He walked away, leaving her sitting alone at the cafe. For the first time in a year, Mark felt light. He realized that the only way to win a game with a narcissist is to stop playing. As the sun set over the Tagus River, Mark pulled his phone out of his pocket. He did something he should have done a long time ago. He went to her profile, the one with millions of followers, the one that had haunted his dreams. He clicked block. Then, he dropped the phone into the deep waters of the river. He didn't need a digital trail. He didn't need a secret account. He just needed to be Mark again. The final message. The story of Mark and Elena serves as a modern fable. In an age where we can be anyone we want online, the hardest thing to be is honest. The end.